So we're down here and we're trying to work with BUMBLE BEE and Chicken of the Sea to change their methods and just kind of be more sustainable and stuff like that. So we came down and we have our banner, which I helped create. Awesome.
I understand they're going to be they're farm-raising tuna now?
They're not. They're going to these places. A FAD is it's like a beacon, and it's in the Pacific, and it sends like a signal, and it attracts all the fish. So it attracts all different kinds of fish. It's like it creates a whole little ecosystem.
They get stuck in the net.
And then they come 2 weeks later, and they put a net, and they take everything, and it's just super bad, and it's just overfishing is a huge problem.
Moving on the boats. Very this.
It's like Star Trek.
Make it so.
Welcome everybody, my name is Nazareth, I come from Italy, I'm one of the deck on board. Welcome inside the bridge where we control the vessel when we are in navigation. During normal navigation there are always 2 persons here on watch, a navigation officer and a deckhand to assist his other watch. And their task is to steer the ship to the right course, plotting the position of the charts, avoiding collision with other ships and setting the sails. To steer the ship to the right course we have a steering wheel over here. Probably you were expecting something more big and made of wood, but nowadays everything is electronics because this ship is very modern. She has only 3 years old, so we have all the modern technology for a safe navigation. Steering wheel, but most of the times the ship is steered by an autopilot when we are in open sea. Only when we are entering or leaving a harbor or we are inside a canal there will be a deckhand and steering the ship. And to plot the position we have electronic charts constantly updated, but we continue to use paper chart just in case something happens to the electronics. In fact we have a GPS to know our coordinates, latitude and longitude, but just in case something happens to the bridge equipment we continue to practice celestial navigation, meaning using the sextant, the sun and the stars to know where we are. So if we have a failure we can, with the magnetic compass and the celestial navigation, we can continue to sail safely. And on the other screens we have a radar to know where the other ships are. And in the last screen we have an overview of what's happening in engine room, which apparatus are running, how many liters of waters we are producing and so on. But the most interesting part of the watch is setting the sails. Probably you saw that the rigging of the ship is huge. We have 5 sails of 1,200 square meter total sail area, but the rigging has been designed to be operated only by 2 persons, and these 2 persons are the people who are currently on watch in the bridge during navigation. So from this instrument over there we take the wind speed and wind direction and we decide which sail to set and which tack. Later we switch on hydraulic unit because the sails are too big to be operated by hand, so we need hydraulic power in order to set the sails. And later we go out on deck. At the base of each boom there is a wind station with winches and lines, and with 2 persons we can set all the 5 sails one at a time just in a few minutes. And we can make a top speed under sails of 13 knots. 13 knots is 13 nautical miles per hour and average speed of 8-9 knots. At the moment we are 16 crew members to run the ships, probably from 13-14 different nationalities. Sometimes all the 5 continents are represented on board the Greenpeace ships. So we have a captain, 3 navigation officers, 4 engineers, a radio operator, a cook, a bosun and 5 deckhands. So 16 crew members to run the ships, but we have space on board for other 16 persons that we call the campaign team. So depending on the type of activity we do, we embark other volunteer, activists, journalists, campaigners, scientists. It depends from the campaign. And as crew member, we are activists and professional seafarers at the same time. We work for Greenpeace as primary occupation for 7-8 months a year at sea with Greenpeace, and we come from different sailing background. But in our crew list we have always 2 open positions for volunteer deckhands, meaning deckhands without previously sailing experience, that most of the times are volunteer from the Greenpeace local office around the world. They start to be involved with a ship like this, and if they improve their maritime skills they return on board as a permanent crew. Do you have any questions about the ships or the bridge equipment before to move?
What's the total investment? How much of this ship?
Was 23 million euros. It's supposed to be around 30 million dollars. But we're planning to keep the ship at least for 30 years at least.
When's the next time you set sail?
Sorry?
When's the next time you set sail?
Good question. No, because we will be here for a few days for a public event, but later we will do a maintenance period here in San Diego, and later will be Christmas time, so during those periods there is not so much attention for our campaign, so probably we will remain until the next year, until January here before to go in Mexico.
You announce it?
This is the wet room, so when people like come in and they're all wet from being on the Zodiac.
They drip dry in here.
Drip dry, yep. Can we go in? Okay.
Who's sleeping? Ooh, look at that. Like storage.
So there's 2 bunk beds, wardrobe kind of thing. It's very little, and this chair goes up so you can put some stuff in there. Not a lot of storage. You're allowed to bring in 1 suitcase.
How many does it sleep?
30.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys, we're gonna move it on this way. There's some more photos if you guys want to look. There's Jeff. Okay, guys, we're gonna come out and talk more.
No, I actually lived here as a kid. I lived in La Mesa
Oh, cool.
for a few years.
Welcome back.
It's nice, thank you.
Welcome home.
I'm going to try and get up there and see where the old house.
Are you hanging out in San Francisco?
Huh?
You've been hanging out in San Francisco?
I joined the ship in San Francisco, so I'm kind of new to the ship as well. This is my first time on the Rainbow Wave. It was launched, I don't know if they explained to you, in 2011. This ship was launched from the Fastmeer yard in northern Germany. And now she's completing a voyage around the world, circumnavigation.
First one.
Yeah, and she'll be heading back to through the Caribbean and up through eastern United States, the eastern seaboard, and then back over to Europe. That'll be the end of her first tour. Okay? So this is our newest Rainbow Warrior. We had 2 other Rainbow Warriors. We had Rainbow Warrior 1.
And specifically within sustainable seafood, we're very focused on the issues surrounding canned tuna. There's a lot of destructive behavior that goes with the vessels that are catching tuna for tuna cans. And 2 of these companies that are particularly large and perpetuate a lot of these activities are headquartered right here in San Diego. BUMBLE BEE and Chicken of the Sea are both right here. So we decided to come down and pay these companies a little visit and do what we could to spread the word, do what we could to spread the word about the reality of how the activities perpetuated by these companies are destroying our oceans. They use 2 different ways of fishing that are both really dangerous. One is using something called a fish aggregating device, or a FAD. A FAD is basically a large floating object that a fishing ship will put out in the water and let sit there for several weeks. And when it's floating out in the water, it provides some shade and shelter for small animals. Little animals will come and stay under it, and they will then become food for larger animals that see them, and then larger animals that see those, and so on and so forth, until there's an entire ecosystem right under this floating object. And then, at that point, the ship will come back, set a net around it, and take everything that's there. The problem is that that's a lot more than just the skipjack tuna that they're fishing for. We're talking about rays, we're talking about sharks, we're talking about juvenile fish of other species, and anything that comes up in a purse seine net by the time it hits the deck is pretty much dead. The way that those things work, it's a pretty grisly process. So it's a very wasteful process. It doesn't have to be that way. The other way that they fish it is something called a long line. A conventional long line is just a rope that they set out in the middle of the ocean with a whole bunch of hooks on it. There's lots of ways to make these lower impact, but if you just do it the normal conventional way, you're going to get a lot more than just tuna. Long lines kill turtles, they kill seabirds, they dive on them, and get their hooks stuck in the ground. They kill sharks, all sorts of things that these companies are not actually fishing for. As a matter of fact, every year the global longline fleet kills hundreds of thousands of sharks, turtles, and seabirds every year. So we're here just to connect with people here in San Diego and ask you all to stand with us in asking these companies to change their ways. It really wouldn't be that difficult. We're not asking anyone to stop eating. Not saying stop catching it, not saying stop selling it. Just do it in a different and better way. And these things are possible. There are already companies that are doing things better. As a matter of fact, if you go to a Vons or if you go to a Walmart, both of these companies have launched more sustainable tuna lines that are the same price as bumblebee, as chimpanzee, and as starkist. So really, we have a choice as consumers. We go in, we can buy a better product without having to spend money. And we're hoping that this is the way that the trend is going to continue, and eventually these companies will feel that bite and they will switch over themselves. So we're going to start. Yeah.
First, for your friends to call. Sometimes I go to other centers besides your regular grocery store, and they have different brands of tuna, like a Sprouts or Jimbo's or whatever. But you never know. Their cans of tuna are so much more expensive. I often wonder, I mean, foreign countries too. So I'm wondering, I mean, how much safe or what their methods are.
So there's an easy to look for on the can. If it says the words fat free, if it says the words poor line, or if it says the words responsibly caught, it's usually a pretty good choice. If it doesn't say that, it's probably
I'll let you go first. I'm claustrophobic and I don't want to, I feel like I'm in a submarine. It's too enclosed.
Conferences, video calls, they're watching movies here, they're doing workouts, like as a gym.
You have
some storage space down here for flyers, material.
very amazing.
Yeah.
I can
The stickers. Thank you very much.
The stickers.
You check too? Any stragglers?
Huh?
Any stragglers?
Sorry?
Any stragglers? I love it when people try coming down here. So nice. I don't think you want to do that.
You hand this over to me as well?
Throw it.
The tool room. That looks like my kind of room. Do everything you can to keep SeaWorld from building those fish farms, okay? We don't want them. You're the Arctic 30. You only have one left. It's locked up. All 29 were released on bail. Hey. Nice piece of art by Summer.